Hello, I'm Dr. Stephen Perlman, and welcome to the next edition of Monoaesthetics Journal Club. We recently sat down with Dr. Eric Bernstein, dermatologist, to talk about the latest in the booming field of lasers and devices in aesthetic medicine. He walks us through how he interacts with laser companies and device developers, and discusses why it's such an exciting time to be involved in aesthetic medicine.
I've been a laser surgeon my entire career and a researcher in skin aging, and so for me, there's never been a more exciting time to do what I do. And that's because there are so many new developments in the field of lasers and energy-based devices. And we say energy-based devices too because it's not just lasers now. There's radio frequency, microwave. I mean, it's crazy. What we can do now that we couldn't do, even 5 years ago is just extraordinary. So, for example, in the vascular field, I think the lasers are already so great at treating Port-Weinstein birthmarks and rosacea and scar improvement, etc. But those lasers are still improving. They're getting more efficient. They're getting a little bit better. There's more offerings on the market. The two main types of laser that I use are the KTP laser and the pulse dye laser, and they're fantastic. Can really impact people's lives. One of the biggest places where we're seeing advancement is in treating pigment and tattoos. There are now picosecond domain lasers. What does that mean? It means like super short pulses in the trillions, hundreds of trillions of seconds. And what that means is the interaction of the lasers with the skin, the physics behind that reaction has changed. So you get different tissue effects that we're not really used to. So I did a clinical trial on one of the newer lasers, the PicoWay laser from Candela. And one of the first things I noticed, that was like jumped out, we haven't been able to remove yellow ink in tattoos. And now it gets removed really easily. And so I think we're going to be studying what these lasers can do going forward. And one of the other areas where the picosecond lasers are being used is in skin rejuvenation. Sort of, fractionated lasers. We have tiny little dots that produce little injuries in the skin. Well, the picosecond domain lasers are now being used for rejuvenation because the tissue effect is very unique. So I don't think we fully know how much they're going to add, but what I would expect is to see the ability to treat all skin types, for example, with fractionated lasers, which is very difficult with the current fractionated lasers. In my practice, the laser that I use, for example, to treat acne scarring is the Fraxel Dual. And we can treat most skin types, but not the darkest skin types, at least I can't, without causing pigmentary problems. That laser is fantastic, by the way. I rely a lot on the Fraxel lasers. But I think this new generation is going to open up treatment to a variety of skin types. Body contouring, there's a ton going on. Cool sculpting has been a huge addition to my practice. Why? Because it's super safe and it's extremely effective. How did I find out it was effective? I treated my sales rep when he first came in, only on one side. I treated him. And that's because when a salesperson comes in and says, I have a new device that works and it's safe, I tell them I have 3 words for you. Have a seat. And so they're usually my first patient. So I was immediately struck with how effective and painless the treatment is. Now they're going to be hand pieces for different areas of the body, for treating small areas. There's been reports of treating the chin, which is extremely exciting, the under chin area, because it's so safe, it's quick. So I'm very excited to see what the results in my practice of that device are going to be in all the new areas that we're going to apply it to. There are other new areas of treatment too. Gosh, microinvasive treatments like ThermiRF. Dr. Jason Bloom, who's a facial plastic surgeon in my practice, treats a number of necks with the Thermi, and that's basically a little cannula that applies RF underneath the skin. And there's a thermal camera that tells you the temperature of the skin, as well as a thermocouple on the end that tells you that you're at the right temperature. So, there are so many exciting treatments that are kind of bursting onto the scene. There's treatment of sweat with microwaves, which I don't do in my practice yet, but I know people are very excited about that. Mirror dry, and there's also coincidentally hair removal during that same process because it treats the junction between the fat and the dermis, and that's where the sweat glands and hair both live. So for me, there's never been a more exciting time to be involved in dermatology, and particularly in my space, for me anyway, which is lasers and energy-based devices. I love physics. I love the interaction of devices with biology. Pretty much the best day for me in the office is when an engineer comes from a laser company, because they're way smarter than I am. Pretty much they're smarter than anybody. I think the laser engineers are brilliant. And we spend the day together. And the nice part is I know a little something they don't know, which is very rare. And that's, about treating patients. So when we interact together and see the way the devices work to treat patients, you get real-time interaction and feedback. And I'll say, well, can you make a laser that does this? Or he'll say, well, gee, I didn't realize you use it that way. Perhaps we can change it in this way. So for me, I hope there's a lot more days like that in my practice going forward, because that's what I really enjoy. I don't think there's ever been a better time to be involved in dermatology. I think everyone should use lasers and energy-based devices just because of the great things you can do, and it's really fun. The ASLMS is a society where all specialties meet to discuss lasers and energy-based devices. The meeting is probably among the most fun meetings you can go to all year long. And I encourage all the dermatologists and plastic surgeons and any specialty, really, it's multidisciplinary, to head out to the ASLMS meeting and see what's new.